This is a very unusual day sailor we're on board. Meet the JV60 Jaro. So Jaro is a Judel-Vrolijk 60 day sailor designed for visionary serial boat owner Jack Setton, French businessman who's had just a series of extraordinary custom boats over his lifetime. He's in his mid-70s now, and this is his latest. It's a full carbon multi-plast build, and it's built like a race boat. Principally, Jack likes the aesthetics and ergonomics of a boat, and a boat particularly for here, a boat that will go upwind. So whereas these days mostly we see boats designed to go planing off the wind, and that's the thrills, for him it's all about finding the thrill of sailing upwind and softly through chop, through waves without it slamming, which is unusual for a carbon boat, but it will help explain this very narrow, slender shape, which has an extraordinary ballast ratio. In a nutshell, what he was after in this boat, a 60-foot day sailor, just for sailing this dock, coming back to this dock. So this is the experience right here. It's all about this. I mean, I've always stayed on the windward side because we're in nice warm conditions as well. But it's a helmsman's boat. It is an upwinder, a reacher, but very much the enjoyment is right here, having one hand on this wheel, and that's it really. I mean, when the heel angle comes on, put the foot plate up a bit, and that's about it. And then it's just feeling the boat go. It's like a torpedo. It just keeps running through here, really, really smooth. No pounding. We haven't had one slam at all. It just cuts through the chop really, really nicely. But I have found myself doing a lot more than you would normally as a helmsman on a 60-foot boat, is actively trim. And because it's so easy, it's literally just jib sheet in and out here and the main sheet in and out, and that just means that with the puffs, rather than always going with the wheel or asking someone to let off a sheet or something, you just do it all yourself, and it's very, very easy to do. It's a lot of fun. I know we've got perfect conditions, but yeah, I now completely understand, you know, Jack's vision of wanting this sort of boat to keep this speed up. Our average speed is always in the double figures. You know, we've cracked off now, we're still doing 11 knots, 12 knots easily, fetching, beam reaching in only 15, 16 knots breeze. Great fun. So I think you can probably sense my enthusiasm from this angle. You can see what this is all about, and this is it. I mean, we are full sail. We've got 14, 15 knots of breeze. We're beam reaching, so we've got good apparent wind, but we're at 60 degrees the apparent wind, 12.5 knots boat speed. That's Porto Cervo. I've got a hand or a finger on the wheel, and the boat is going like a train. It's a real pure pleasure daysailer, and you think a 60-footer is not really something that you would single-hand or solo sail, but as I showed you, that's what you do. You trim, and it's all about Jack, or the person that's on the helm, being here and doing this. I mean, it is a purity of sailing that many people won't really get the chance to do, but it is absolutely a magic experience if you do. As we return back into Porto here, what beautiful morning sailing. Yeah, I really get this concept now, and it does take, you have to get on board and try it out, which I've been very lucky to have the privilege to do. Hope you enjoyed joining me on it. Yeah, to get the concept of a visionary designer, boat builder, boat owner, who wanted this purity of day sailing, and I can say that I agree he's found it in this. For these sort of conditions, it really does live up to its design. We also had the chance to take Jaro out in a mistral. The apparent wind was topping 40 knots, far too windy to speak into a mic. But well reefed, her V-hull continued to slice to weather at up to 20 degrees to the apparent wind, our speed never dropping below 9 knots. Having over 60% of the weight in the keel means she stays dry and upright with no royal fodder needed. It was a telling proof of concept.
All about this boat is ergonomics, is what you feel, and the day proved it. The fact that we have like 70% ballast ratio means that in our guts we had like 15 knots difference between the guts today, and you hardly feel it. The boat is still reacts well, safe. So the whole idea is today it performed like we expect. You always hope you don't break anything anyway, of course, but she did very well. And so that's it. She did what I like her to do. Good speed. You see, she's a very classic boat, so basically she doesn't do those speeds of fantastic foiler.
So other than the very different, unusual shape, there's a few key features I wanted to show you through on the deck itself. So you notice one flat single level deck, that helps give the boat stiffness, but it's very, very simple otherwise. You've got a nice high bulwark with just a single guardrail. Even Jack didn't want even the guardrail, but you don't really notice that when you first see the boat. You see this lovely big bulwark. And then in the actual cockpit itself, you've got this, T-shaped well. So that gives you a little bit of bracing for a crew. There is very, very little in terms of fittings. You just got these titanium rails to sit against. Outhaul, Vang, the hydraulic controls just back here. But otherwise, it's just about this. This is the heart of the boat because it's a single-handed boat. You want to be able to do everything from these wheels. This is very cool. I mean, it's absolutely howling, but to have a fixed bimini like this really, really does work because you need the sun protection, but most of them you'd have to take down in this sort of breeze. This is on Harken tracks each side, so you can slide this back, so as you're raising the mainsail, you can get to see it, then you can cover it when you want your sun protection, or to cover the crew. And then, this is it. This is the heart of the boat. Two very powerful twin 990 Harkens there on reverse remote buttons, and then each side, the purity of design is having this running rigging running straight back here to the clutches, then the tails of the ropes squirreled away into good deep bins there. So as soon as the sail's put up, which goes up very, very quickly on these winches, there's nothing left here, and you are left to sail the boat from here, and you are literally just trimming it with the captive winches. So that there is your joystick control for the main sheet captive, and there's your jib sheet controls, in and out, and that's it, boom. So you're sitting from here, you've got nothing in front of you, just a pure flat deck, and yeah, you can tell this has all been mocked up and designed exhaustively to make this the sort of pure day sailing experience. So that means you're sitting here like this. You've got a foot chock you can raise really easy, very, very simple, and that's great at heel to have that perfect height for this bare titanium wheel. You've got another one here for when you're working at the winches, good foot chock there as well. And otherwise, I'm really, really impressed with the level of detail and thought that's gone into making this the fun boat that Jack wants it to be for what he does, going on and off the dock, not even anchoring. There's no swim platform, no swim ladder, no anchor, that sort of thing. It's just to go out there and sail it in the type of pure upwind sailing that he likes to do. Self-tacking jib, in and out on a furler button there, and that's it. And yeah, you may think that this is quite a crude throttle to see on a boat these days, but he just wanted it easy to do. If you're managing something single-handed, just grab that and you reverse it. And when you're trying to get a boat in these sort of winds, you understand that. It has got a stern and bow thruster on it as well to help it get onto this hammerhead. But otherwise, this is it. Very, very cool, very pure. So the really neat running rigging here, it includes a backup for the main sheet. So the main sheet is on that single point, led to a captive winch for the jib sheet as well below decks. But if something goes wrong, you've got a main sheet backup there as well. The rig itself, carbon rig, obviously Hall Spars carbon rig. This boom has arms on it there to easily stack this mainsail. The point was to get the mainsail down nice and quickly. So the lazy jacks come off those and are run through the middle of the spreader. So it's a nice wide angle, which means you're not constantly trying to get the sail stuck. You're trying to avoid it getting stuck in the lazy jacks, and it will come down the mast track nice and quickly. Carbon standing rigging as well. This below me here, there's not much to point out on deck, but this is quite interesting because that is the top of the keel bolts. The keel, stainless steel keel, comes up through the interior just by the mast base there, and the bolts are on the actual deck, super strong. Then you've got a well for the self-tacking jib and a hatch for the interior, and that's it. There's nothing else really to point out forward. There's a fair lead that you can put an anchor on. They've got a Fortress aluminium anchor on this, so you could rig it up, but it's, as I say, it's for solo day sailing from the dock. Yeah, and otherwise you've got the bulwark running forward and showing that nice shear line moving forward to a straight stem head. Very classic lines. You didn't believe me that there's nothing down here? There is nothing down here. This is as close to a pure race boat as you would get. There's not even a toilet. In this main section that's painted white so you can actually see what you're doing, build quality is very, very good. Really good finish as well. Just got I'm sitting on a battery box, got a control panel here for your electronics, and that's the engine. It's not even insulated, it's just a box for the engine, and you can tell in here probably from the noise alone, we're in a tin can. You know, that's the waves slapping against the transom. There is zero attention to make this comfortable whatsoever, because no one's going to spend any time in here. So a few details to point out here. I mean, other than this massive amount of structure, as I said, I've only seen this on pure race boats. So this, below the deck is all vacuum infused carbon with a foam core that's pre-molded. And then the deck itself, it is pre-preg carbon. But you can see these stiffeners running through the boat, just how big they are. And look at this around the keel trunk. It is super, super stiff, having that bulkhead here and then all the framework around it. So there's your mast step sitting on top of the keel trunk essentially, but the keel fin is stainless steel, and as I mentioned, that runs right the way through the hull to the deck, so the actual keel bolts are on the deck itself, and that gives you a super, super strong, stiff keel and flange mounting for that keel. So I think that would give you a lot of confidence in that, and bearing in mind it's all about stiffness. You know, the ballast ratio is 63%. So this is only it's less than 11 tons, 10.9 tons dry weight, and over 6 of that is in the keel. That's stiff. So here as well, this is coming down through the mast base. That's your jib sheet running onto a pre-feeder that loads this Carcan captive winch, 1.5 ton captive winch this side. Exactly the same for the main sheet the other side, but it's a it's twice the size, 3 ton version. And then there's nothing. I mean, as long as you like bare carbon, which is beautiful, I love it. You got a hatch with a step there, and I mean, even a Vendée Globe boat or a pure race boat would have more in here because it would have a spinnaker and spare sails and stay sails and that sort of thing. There's not that. There's nothing. There's no retrieval system. You've got some spare warps and sheets hanging on the hull sides, and then you've got the fenders stacked neatly. That's it. A couple of batteries for the bow thruster. Otherwise, it's just structure. So from the central bulkhead there, moving aft into another black tin can. It's really loud in here. You can see this is the Dyneema steering gear. The line's running straight back to the quadrant here. Quadrant mounted on the carbon rudder stock. Nice deep carbon blade. Jack Setton wanted it nice and deep, didn't want it twitchy at all. And then stern thruster in the central part here. But I mean, there's a carbon tube next to me each side here that runs from the little cockpit. This is the T-shaped cockpit. That's just your self-draining tube. I mean, that's probably more than my boat itself costs just for that drain.
While in Sardinia, we were invited to Jack's studio, which houses a gallery of both his past photography projects and vast collection of yachts and craft. It was the chance to ask him more about how his focus on day sailors came about.
The whole idea was, how can I sail alone to stop that story of the racing? But alone, really, alone if it's rough, but not alone like a round-the-world guy who does 2 tacks, alone where I can really tack every 30 seconds if I want, or jibe, and do it really. So we know that single-handled guy can really tack, and they go alone around the world. No, me is to go alone around the bay, around every boat, everything like that. So the quest from the start, is there any boat in production that does that? It was no. Basically, as you know, the big sailor and typical like the French or the big English guy, you have to have the beard, the dirty hair, lots of lines everywhere, then you're a sailor. The moment you say, I want less lines, I want to make it simple, they think you're not a sailor anymore. So I was obliged to design them from the start myself and find something where the ergonomics would work. We did a lot of boats like that, whether with Carter or with other people, and slowly came to the conclusion that day sailing has to be even faster than a race boat if possible. Why? Because as you know, the race boat has a handicap. And I really realized that having no handicap allows me to make a hull just for speed and just for performance, where basically a race boat, these guys are so strong designing the hull unstable or this or that to get the handicap better. That doesn't mean they're better boats. They're just quicker boat on the handicap. And I realized that, and I said, now let's go totally the opposite way. Let's find out the way to make a day sailor that's going to go, if possible, quicker than a racing boat, if possible. Of course, the only problem, I don't have the crew to go windward, so I have to compensate that with a bigger ballast. This is why very quickly we invented the idea of 60 to 70% ballast ratio, where a normal boat is 30%, And this is why in the big guts, they don't go like animals, lean like crazy, So the story was always big rudder so they don't stall, strong keel, and nice impression. Because basically, I remember what a guy was telling me, the impression is the most important thing. You may go only 4 knots on a small Herreshoff or something, but if you are close to the water, like you said, and you feel the speed passing by and it's beautiful, who cares about the real speed? This is why I got less excited by the very fast planing boats, because at the end, when they go to windward, they pound because they're very flat. And we both know when you want to go somewhere that most of it is always to windward, and it's much less, you have to tack and tack and tack and tack and get to the next point. So I did decided that windward would be more my thing, how to make machines that maybe perform a little less well downwind, but much better upwind. So that was the idea. So I'm an upwind lover. This is why I don't have Code Zero, Jenneker, because at the end, as you know, when you're alone, Code Zero to go between two boats every minute and jibe and change and blah, it's not that easy.
Jack is a pioneer, a driver, and a serial boat owner who has had some groundbreaking custom craft. Yes, he is lucky to have had the means for that, but he still loves some of the simplest ergonomic designs, like his 12-foot Hobie. For someone who has been lucky enough to test hundreds of yachts, it was a highlight to get to try out Jaro firsthand, and money can't buy experience, and one which showcased the culmination of one man's lifetime of trial and error.